Hello, disc golf enthusiasts from around the world, and welcome back to MDG Media. This is Round 2 Front 9 MPO lead card coverage of the 2025 Turku Open in southwest Finland. Day 1 brought us the rain and the thunder. Day 2 has greeted us with some beautiful sun and a little bit of wind as well. I'm Connor Wood, and with me, Mr. Elias Luukkonen.
What's up, Connor? What's up, viewers? Nice to be here once again in our own hotel room studio doing some late night commentary just for you. This is all for the content. And yeah, actually pretty exciting round coming up. I mean, we have a great card and great scores in round number 1. The course was seemingly super scoreable, at least by these guys. Ezra Robinson, of course, going 13 under in the first round. Honestly, a pretty insane pace through 18 holes.
Raven Newsom as well joining our lead card. He's a player who seems to be thriving in this European stretch. We're seeing more of him than ever, and quite frequently on MDG as well.
Aaron Gossage, a big forehand thrower, big backhand thrower, likes to throw hard, and as we saw in round number 1, really comes into play on this course if you can just hammer the disc on a lot of the holes.
Calvin Heimburg, there's a pattern forming here. Another one of the hardest throwers in the game. Very capable of both backhand and forehand. Just won his first major a few weeks ago. His stock is very high right now, but with that comes the expectations. We kick it off here on hole number 1, a par 4 at 202 meters. You have this narrow stretch of fairway inbounds the entire way with OB both sides. A good drive will normally get you somewhere out there in the 120, maybe 130 range. It's ideally a big hyzer and then shortcutting across the corner onto this mounded green. You have to be quite touchy actually. It looks like it can often be an open hyzer, but due to the slope and short grass, the ground play is very prominent here. And Elias, it's a great starting hole. Get some rips out, be accurate, and feel your throw a little bit, feel the crowd.
4:30 p.m. tee time, and time to let the lead card here on the moving day of the DGPT Turku Open 2025, sponsored by Prodigy Discs. First on the tee with a score of 13 under par, representing Discraft from the United States, Ezra Robinson.
Yeah, we don't have specifics about these exact players, but there is a warm-up area that is kind of far from tee number 1, so a lot of players just throwing into a net near that tee number 1, making a lot of putts in the practice baskets. And in a way, this hole number 1 is really good if you do that, because you don't really have to be that accurate on the first shot.
Next on the tee with a score of 13 under par, representing MVP Disc Sports from the United States, Raven Newsom.
Raven proving in recent history he can compete with the best. Some of the highest ranked courses, of course. We saw him also at the Krokol coverage here on MDG Media to get his round 2 started. And you mentioned, Elias, it is a generous fairway.
Next on the tee with a score of 10 under par, representing Discraft from the United States, Aaron Gossage.
The goose is loose on hole number 1. This is one of those holes that I mentioned that offer great advantage if you throw a bit further. We have a strong headwind today, so being able to take that more overstable driver, putting it out wider and higher and safer.
And the fourth player to tee off with the score of 10 under par, representing Innova from United States, Calvin Heimburg.
Not too surprised to see Calvin here, obviously, with his recent success, but I feel like this course suits his game very well. Loves to throw low ceiling, piercing driver shots, and that is what Seppo Pajo, course designer, has on this course here for these competitors. The low ceiling, a common theme. This hole wide open, and Calvin places right up there into the heat map. 3 great throws. Aaron, a little bit further than the rest, will have a shorter upshot.
Yeah, Seppo, designer slash owner of the course, with his recent purchase, I believe, in the off-season. Ezra Robinson here, playing it safe, playing it left. Not trying to make the biggest mistake, which is to leave it out too far to the right. If you do that, you have to pretty much rethrow, still have a difficult approach for your bogey if you stay on the OB.
Similarly, if you overturn something too early in the wind and come up short, that is a really hazardous hole for that reason, I think, contributing to its above par average statistically. Raven, a good forehand, managing to get to the base of the slope. We go to Calvin, also opting for the one angle hyzer out over the OB. But you can see it's a fairly simple shot if you have a good drive.
This forehand approach, I think this plays the nicest to the green, as you're flying over inbounds, plus you're fading towards the hill. But Gossage, unfortunately for him, that's too much fade. Possibly that left to right headwind from this angle got to his disc, made it fade a bit more.
Calvin to get us started on the green, and it is shy on the cage. This is significantly elevated despite being a normal height basket. The mound comes into play from not too far out. We see Ezra as well, unable to connect from that slightly uncomfortable range. Raven closer. It does translate that to the birdie there. Jumps on the board, 1 under, and for this exact moment is the solo leader of the tournament.
Very sharp, thank you. There from Raven as Gossage. Short miss. I believe we saw the same exact thing in round number 1. Commented on that just earlier today. Same thing, hole number 1, just a short putt left, 5 meters. 2 rounds in a row, hasn't been able to capitalize. Must wonder if it's the nerves. Is it the wind? Is there something mental with this hole number 1's green? As moving on to the second, par 4 of similar distance, but a much more technical one. Still not fully technical. The drive feels like an open hyzer. You do have to control the fade and the landing very much though, as you want to throw something not wide, but also not too tight where you're challenging the inside branches. Move as far left as possible with an overstable driver. Hopefully land somewhere in the gap where you have just a straight shot to the pin. Really, after a good drive, the second shot isn't that far. So if you throw a nice 115 meter hyzer, you're not gonna have much more than 80 or 85 to the green. Definitely all about the drive here. You have to put the drive in a good position to have even a chance.
Raven, known as an accurate player, able to shape his discs well, and look at that beautiful landing spot right between those 2 center fairway trees. That will give him a straight look down the tunnel, perhaps a slight hyzer angle. We go to Ezra now. Also hitting a nice straight flight before the overstability kicks in, avoiding the early left corner, although that was quite close. He's also in position, but with a harder shot to access the green.
You can really see the wind here. It was much windier than round number 1 as Calvin just barely stays safe. Bad break to hit that tree and kick right, good break to stay in bounds. Pretty neutral on the result. From there he should have some sort of a tight flex shot to the green if he wants it. Just gonna be way more difficult than if he was on the fairway. Even the difference between Gossage and Heimburg there, it's gonna be huge. While their discs are just 3 meters apart, difference in angle is gonna be pretty large, and interesting to see if both of them go for completely different shots.
Those 3 meters are the entire difference. We go to Ezra looking at the inside. Tight flex line. Shortcuts the corner of the entrance. Doesn't hit the mouth purely, but does get through regardless. And he's up there in putting distance. We'll see Calvin here. This is that tight flex you referenced. Has to get it around the first bush, into the tunnel, and then have the late stability, but the height does not give it enough glide there to make it all the way. We'll have a long stab and a safe par there. Go to Gossage.
Love the release angle, but just missing the gap to the left. He was trying to go with something super overstable to fit that flight. It's a good thing to do, to go with that overstable anhyzer if you need that early movement to the right, compared to a later movement on the right with a more understable disc.
See Gossage from the early tunnel. Just puts himself back in play. Fairly responsible choice. Similar for Calvin. Outside a reasonable distance, although I think he'll try to give this some sort of height. Ultimately, just a power play as well. Hole 2, Elias. Very specific birdie in terms of the shot shapes required. Just like that, Raven Newsom finds it.
Yeah, well done there. Good start. Getting strokes on the card already in the first 2 holes. And that's great to see. I mean, Raven he's not inexperienced, but he's less experienced in these lead card situations than all 3 of the other players.
We see an overall 2 under for our MPO lead. We proceed to hole 3, par 3, 82 meters. You have a slightly elevated tee pad here and a singular obstacle in the middle. 2 trees combined, the Mando tree and the main obstacle here. You ideally force left of them with a low ceiling shot. The forehand hyzer looks most natural from the tee, but often brings the long and right OB into play. The backhand turnover is a little bit more touchy, but shapes the fairway more purely, bringing the left side OB into play. So it requires good precision, and I think is deceptively dangerous, Elias, for what on paper is a very simple hole.
Yeah, especially with the forehand. I mean, the forehand finishes right so easily. This backhand, I personally really like the backhand play there, and you can see why. I mean, Ezra, he hit it pretty early, but even with that anhyzer angle, you can quite often skip all the way to the pin. Really impossible to find OB right with the backhand. Another good shot from Calvin there.
You see Gossage going to the forehand line. Slightly beaten in approach disc. Gets a straight flight. And you can see even with a pretty pure shot, he is less than a meter from the OB. Ultimately safe. And putting. We go to Ezra up first.
Solid stroke. It seems like the casual putting style runs in the family of Robinsons. I really couldn't tell which one of them actually has the more casual putting style. I feel like it's very whippy on both of them. A lot of arm action. A lot of spin.
And a specific lack of unnecessary movements. They walk up. Everything they do is to align themselves to the putt and execute. We see Raven continuing his perfect start now. 3 through 3, maintaining the solo lead. Hanging on Ezra, hot on his heels. Goose now has himself to 1 under.
I sort of like proved to myself that I still got it. Whatever is meant to happen with me will happen. And what I want wants me even more. So I just have to be open to receive it.
Moving on to one of the more difficult holes on the course. Hole number 4, 211 meters, but don't be fooled by the distance. It actually plays closer to 250 at least, as we're going far uphill on the tee shot, even far uphill on the second shot. It's gonna play nicely for a flat to hyzering shot off the tee. Just hit the gap and move a little bit left. Hopefully get some good distance off the tee. And then the second shot, with no wind, is a doable straight fairway driver shot, but today we have such a strong headwind that you pretty much have to go with something quite overstable unless you're an angle magician, which honestly some of these guys are, but you still might want to go for an overstable disc. Really hard to reach this hole even with 2 shots in the headwind.
And the distance required on this hole only amplified by the fact that this first shot is forced into pretty much a one-angle hyzer. It restricts your ability to shape a disc or flip it up, otherwise that long OB quickly comes into play. It's also for that reason a great measure of arm speed throughout the card, because they're forced to do a single angle shot. You really get to see how far they can push it. You see 2 great drives from both Raven and Ezra. Let's see if Calvin can match them or potentially exceed their drives.
There you go, there's the potential. A lot of speed on that disc. I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Gossage would even go past that one, as he's going pretty high with a pretty stable disc. There you go, very similar distance, more on the left side, so that's going to be opening up more of a straight look on the left side of the bush. Do see players going on the right and on the left side sometimes. This left side I'd say more risky but easier to reach the pin.
But you can see that that bush really well placed to force players into creating awkward angles. It's really at that distance where it's right in front of a good or great drive like these guys have. And they're forced to get around it. This is a nice looking shot that you're able to shoot from the right side and a smooth controlled entrance into the green. Perfectly slowing down on that right to left slope. We go to Gossage now, going to play a huge forehand up and over the out of bounds. He needs to make sure it comes back, and it looks beautiful, Elias.
Once again, like clockwork on this hole. Did the same exact thing in round number 1, and now we have way more headwind on this one. Still reaching the pin. I mean, to be honest, I think that forehand plays with a required distance of 125, 130 meters, and he was able to reach that with a pure hyzer. It's pretty impressive. As Calvin, barely safe. Once again, that is the advantage of throwing a bit further, being able to throw a fairway driver instead of a distance driver on this hole. Angle control just a little bit easier.
Raven, this long and treacherous look to maintain a perfect start. And he floats over. We saw the wind lifting and dropping his putter at a whim. He'll have a short comeback, or we go to Calvin. Scoops it up there. Birdie for him. Successfully now 2 under in this second round.
Gossage, a little 6-meter putt on the pole. This putt is looking nice. Player whose putting has been the biggest factor of why he hasn't won a ton of tournaments so far. Definitely one of the best backhand plus forehand combos in the game. Aaron Gossage, so much distance and so much trust with those hard shots.
And has the added benefit when you have that much power, you can play the more simple hyzers when they're available. Whereas we'll move on to hole 5. This par 3 at 101 meters, softly uphill. You have to navigate both the width and the height here. There are a variety of gaps to choose from, straight as the drone is flying, and actually now transitioning to the right side. This is the hyzer entrance into the green, and I think the most common and preferred one. But there really are 3 potential gaps to hit: right with the hyzer, straight with the flex, or left with the forehand or backhand turnover. I think the hyzer will be the choice of play. Ezra looking to line that up. You have to hit 3 gaps in sequence. Right towards that V tree, fade left before it, get a skip. And he executed the shot just like that.
Yeah, good shot. Nothing to complain about there. Of course, he would like to get it closer, and how you do that is put a little bit more height on it. Calvin, same thing, hits the gap, but hits the ground early as well. It's pretty scary to put the disc high up there, as the branches do come into play if you put it a little bit higher through that gap. But really, especially in this wind, the headwind is slowing your disc down. So in order to get it all the way to the basket, you gotta put it high enough where it flies all the way to the circle and takes that small couple of meters of skip.
Aaron pushes all of the height out of the gap, squeezes it dry and right there into the bullseye. Just a fantastic display. His abilities. We go to Raven. Has this severely overturned, missed the exit of the tunnel, but should have a reasonable look for par. If you go really far over there, there's some more OB in danger, but it's quite forgiving in the rough. You can see a fairly large gap for him to get out of.
Yeah, that's, I mean, solid gap hit, but that's not really the putt you want for par. I mean, putting in today's wind is going to be the most stressful part. Driving, you can always throw a more stable disc. But that circle's edge to 5 meter range, nothing inside of there is a gimme. I'm talking about gimmies. Look at this putt. Did we just mention how casual he is? Once again, just a whip of the arm and that's good.
Comes out so clean, so consistent every time. Looks fairly effortless even from range. We see Raven to match, and that, as you aforementioned, Elias, not the most comfortable putt and not executed there. Aaron, short tap in. We see his new putting style, more wrist heavy, collapsing and opening it. A little bit more Anheuser and flat release, particularly from shorter distances.
Yeah, Aaron might have one of the highest releases I've ever seen from close distance. He really goes not anywhere below the chest on his release from that inside of bullseye range. So you could hear the organizers just focusing on guiding the herd of spectators through the course. And this part of the course is going to be great to spectate on. We're entering the highest hill on this LUOLAVUORI cave mountain translated course. And going far downhill, 145 meters, this hole almost always plays with a huge right to left wind. So the fact that it's an island hole makes it pretty stressful. You have to put your drive all the way to the right, far above the OB area, and just trust that the hyzer angle and the wind combined are gonna push it way left. Need to be pretty much right of that first tree. You see Ezra going over.
And I think he'll have a good read on this. There were some similar wins in practice days leading up to this event, and he also provides a read on the wind there for the others. They had the added benefit of seeing the reaction his disc got and just how severe it can be. Aaron, very similar looking line, if anything just a touch higher than Ezra's. The width almost identical, and you see that additional height bring the disc a little bit further and a little bit more left, and he'll have a nice almost flat putt right up there in the green.
I bet that was a bit of a scary release from Aaron. You can see it was tracking towards the left side OB, but an overstable enough disc where it didn't glide all the way. This is much safer from Calvin. That sort of shot is never gonna get there all the way, really, going with something so overstable and so spiky. But I mean, he's putting his circle too. Really not a bad result here. It's so hard to park this one without risking OB in a bad way.
Raven with a little bit more of a direct line rather than going over the tree, goes lower and left of it. More straight flight, and you can see it's worked well for him. He'll be putting softly downhill towards the OB again at that slightly uncomfortable distance, but this is rarely a hole people are expecting to park, just given how downhill it is, how much exposed to the wind your tee shot is, that it's common to be circle's edge with even a good shot. Speaking of good shot,
our cameraman Maxime trying to get a good shot, almost getting hit by a disc. Luckily not getting shot though. as Aaron Gossage. Difficult 10-meter putt. Has that slight hyzer release. And look at that, perfectly on the pole. What a wind read.
Absolutely drills it, facing the crowd. Raven steps up and does the same. This is a pretty good get, particularly in the wind. It helps for the hyzer, but in different circumstances it can be tricky. This hole, dangerous enough to average 3.31. Only 19% of the field finding the birdie. And we have some of those members here on lead card. No surprise. Here we are, proceeding on to hole number 7. This par 4 sits at 210 meters. Players have the initial tee shot here, with OB lining the left side and the rough trees lining the right. They would like a net straight shot that will get them somewhere up positioned to access this corner into the green. If you can get yourself close enough to the OB left line but remaining safe, that's the best option. You swing the shot in to the basket in the lower right frame that we just passed, and ultimately, big placement shot, shorter placement shot. Find your birdie.
Yep. Expecting a lot of rollers, expecting a lot of forehands. Not expecting any backhand air shots, especially in the wind. There's a right to left tailwind here, so a backhand turnover is pretty much the toughest shot you can throw. This flat to hyzer forehand though, very easy if you have the power, and Aaron Gossage has the power.
And he has the green flag. He has a birdie look. He has Raven Newsom throwing right after him, going for a high flex shot, trusting the stability of the disc. A little bit nose up, stalls out a touch. He'll have a very tight angle and likely some very small gaps to try and fight. We go to Calvin. Keeping your analysis true, Elias, with the roller. But that one spins out a touch early as well.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens when you have that right to left wind. It's pushing the top side of the flight plate. And Ezra Robinson here, trying to prove me wrong with an air shot. This is beautifully thrown. A lot of distance. I believe he went with a mid-range, even an approach disc there. So really just trying to keep it in play and set up for a longer approach than the forehand and the roller play would.
Raven splits the trees with the forehand. Comes up a touch short, and at the edge of that bush it will leave him mildly obstructed. But it's certainly within putting range. We go now to Calvin. You can see him manipulating the space in the gaps, dropping to the knee and leaning out to the side, trying to make it feel a little bit bigger. But he doesn't have really any comfortable option. Is forced to shape it, and he too comes up just shy. You can see the additional struggles of being short right compared to Ezra here. Wide open shot, backhand hyzer, another low speed disc even.
He pulls it wide. That's really one of the easiest chances for birdie you can have on this course after a good drive. Really, this hole is difficult on the drive, or it can be difficult on the drive if you don't have this huge forehand. But the approach is pretty simple. The only thing that can be tricky is the speed control as you're going a little bit downhill, but Aaron Gossage, no problem with that, going forehand on this hole. A pretty rare combination. Usually the second shot plays more for backhand.
Ezra with a good looking putt. That would have been his opportunity to take advantage of what I think was the best drive of the 4 and get the bounce back after the bogey. We go to Calvin. He lines it up. He lifts it up. He drops it over the top. No medal found.
Solid by Raven. One bogey. One little red stain on that scorecard. Otherwise filled with green and black. Pretty impressive stuff, honestly. I mean, Raven had so much momentum from round number 1. Playing one of the hottest rounds. One of the hottest rounds even on tour. I mean, we have had some 1100 rated rounds during this European swing. One in European Open and a couple in the European Disco Festival. But their 13 unders in round 1 were rated around 1090.
Smooth delivery for Gossage there. He's putting together quite the streak now. A lot of green. He's looking to chase down both Ezra and Raven still. He'll have another chance here on hole 8, this par 3, 88 meters. And this shot, you have OB lining the left side, you have trees on the right, the short drop off right here as we pass this tree left of frame. It goes downhill, leaving you just the top half of the basket peeking up at you. You ideally want to try and get something nose down, either a forehand hyzer flip or a backhand turnover. I think that the backhand is more likely to be a little bit long or a little bit short, but the forehand is maybe not the most pure way to shape the gap. But similar to the previous par 3 with the Mando tree, this is a very gettable short hole, and you can really pick your shot. Make sure you hit the gap straight.
Yeah, this hole is super short. It plays even shorter than the 88 that it says. As Aaron Gossage, perfect angle control. That's what you want here. This hole actually, the direct distance to the basket is only 83. We're also playing downhill, so probably playing with an actual distance of 75. Really don't have to throw it that hard.
Calvin displays the backhand line there after 2 forehands. One straight to hyzer, one fully flexed. We've seen 3 different lines. I expect this to be similar to Calvin's. Hyzer release, late flip, soft landing.
Yep, lead card showing why they did make their way to the lead card in round number 1. Calvin just one dart away from putting it in the middle. That's pretty much guaranteeing the star frame, as everybody else is on the edge of the bullseye or inside. Definitely a hole you have to pick up. I mean, if you miss this one, it almost feels like a par 2 in a way. Where if you miss this one, you know you're losing strokes to everybody relevant in the tournament.
This does feel very much like an approach shot in the way it shapes and plays, but it still can be missed. We saw 51% of the field finding the birdie, averaging 2.56, third easiest of the day. Gossage continues his streak of birdies now, but Raven doing a good job holding the lead. Elias, what do we see on 9?
Yeah, hole 9 in difficulty feels very similar to the last one, where this one is only 157 meters and a par 4. So, sounds very short, and is very short for a par 4. You really don't have to throw that far. It's a little bit uphill off the tee, so making it play slightly longer. You want to throw something straight through the gap. And honestly, a perfectly thrown straight fairway driver will get you to a position where you see the basket have an open 50-meter hyzer. You can also go for a very aggressive backhand roller if that's something you like to do. The best backhand rollers can sometimes get within jump pad distance on this hole. So that can be pretty exciting for the potential eagle on this hole.
And going with a straight control shot does get caught by the branches. Raven now. I think this shot shapes nicely to his preference. I think had to have been an attempt at the roller given how steeply the anhyzer came out. Alternatively, a flex that was overburnt. Let's see Calvin if he can hit it purely.
lot of speed out of the hand. You could see the disc was just squirming at the release. And that's gonna be an okay spot. Really anything near that single tree on the left side is gonna be fine. Ezra, if this fades, it's gonna be perfect. And there you go. Really the only player that's gonna be fully satisfied with their drive. This hole being so short, pretty much everybody else. Maybe Raven is gonna have a really difficult time getting to the basket, but Aaron from here is just a flat to fade forehand. It's not that far even.
And that is a fine position. You can have slight advantage depending on which gap through the trees is available to you on this screen, but ultimately anything within the circle will feel gettable even with those Guardians. We go to Raven. Has to keep this very tight inside, looking for ground play, and there's quite simply not enough airtime for him. Too steeply angled in the initial leg of the fairway. Calvin, just a few meters more left, but it makes the world of difference.
There's a nice approach. Very good touch there on the backhand side. Want to throw something not so glidey on this hole. As you want that distance control. Ezra, little left, and a big skip. Finds a very rare result of contending with that left side OB. It's super rare to see somebody not being inside of the circle on this hole. Really missing the line all the way. As Raven pitches up for par. And Gossage now big putt. A couple of trees in the way on this green. Oftentimes you do have to do a wide straddle. Ezra Robinson in there for a par, so he did go OB. Honestly, a very disappointing result after being in perfect position off the tee.
Calvin takes an extra moment, hits the putt. And at this point, as we close out this front nine of round 2, we have officially reached the halfway point of this tournament. 27 holes in, 27 left to go. We see the clean scorecard for Calvin securing his 4 under, also found by Raven and Ezra despite their bogeys, and Gossage at 5 after the initial bogey on 1. Elias, the scores are hot, the weather's warm. It's a good time to be playing disc golf here in Turku.
Yep, it's a good time to be playing. It's even a better time to be commenting disc golf. I mean, we're having a good time. Hope to take a little sip with you on the back nine if you want to come back. I think you do. I mean, we have a lot of action. We're trying to set up for the final Elite Series round of this European disc golf season. So if you don't want to miss this, please come back to us and make our night even a little bit better.
Thank you, Elias, and thank you, viewers. Catch us on the next one. We'll see you there.